Yes, people, welcome back to the channel, and this is a little video on something that I think is concerning all of us a little bit, which is why the recent games have become so important to collate enough points to kind of alleviate the pressure. I say that, but can you really ever alleviate pressure at Manchester United? Going into what we know will be a difficult period to kind of navigate for Rúben Amorim and as Manchester United fans in general, and that is AFCON. So, as you know, AFCON is starting within the next week. Realistically, the players should be leaving on this weekend. I think that's usually when the club releases happen. But with it being a possible final game against Bournemouth, I think it's club discretion, player discretion, whether they'll stay for one more game and then turn up just late. I basically turn up for a few days before the first AFCON game, when ideally, obviously, national sides would like them to have a little bit longer, almost like an induction week, integrate them into the team, kind of get acclimatized to the new environment, and ready and raring to go for what is obviously an important competition, especially in that part of the world. And it's actually one of the competitions I actually enjoy watching the most. So I definitely will be trying to tune in for those games as well. Some great, chaotic, quality football, higher quality than people give it credit for, and it's a tournament that will have a lot of the things that we say is missing from today's game, which is it won't be as boring, it's not going to be as rudimentary, not as almost like methodical. There'll be a bit of that, but you've got that kind of bit of unpredictability. I feel like it's always a tournament that I try and tune into whenever it happens, but unfortunately for us as Manchester United fans, it's coming at a time where we have difficult matches, and the players that are going to be missing for AFCON, as you've seen by the thumbnail, are three of our best players. And for any team, in any scenario, for any expectation and any situation, that is going to be a hammer blow, especially when it comes to the dynamics of the team. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to come out with my predicted 11 or my ideal 11 for the period that Amad and Mbeumo and Mazraoui will be gone. Mazraoui for Morocco, Amad Diallo for Ivory Coast, and Mbeumo for Cameroon. How long each player is away will obviously depend on how well their countries do in the competition itself. But for the group stage matches, I think they'll at least miss 2 or 3 games at the very, very least. And it depends obviously on travel back. You also have that concern with international football about injuries and whether they'll pick up knocks and stay fit whilst they're over there. So you're kind of going to be having your fingers crossed, because we'll just deal with the elephant in the room. Amad and Mbeumo was United's whole right side of the pitch, basically. And we don't really have an adequate replacement for either. And Amad Diallo is the only player on the team that is an attacking outlet that plays in one of those wing-back roles. And I think the whole balance of the dynamic of the team shifts whenever he doesn't play there. And Amorim's record when Amad hasn't played as one of the wing-backs, or he hasn't played an attacking player in one of those wing-back positions, when he has gone for the double full-backs on the outside, United results fare much worse. We look a lot more tepid when we go forward, and we become a little bit too defensive when we invite pressure. And what you end up finding is, as we know in this system, the wing-backs end up being almost the out-and-out winger outlets. And when we are circulating the ball in that final third, you do kind of funnel the ball into, obviously if it's Amad out there, Diallo or Dorgu, and then the onus is on them to kind of either cross the ball with wide creation or to kind of almost become a pseudo-winger. And that's why we've seen Diallo struggle, Mazraoui struggle out there, we've seen Dorgu struggle out there, and the only one that's kind of shown us a little bit of quality and threat in them areas is Amad Diallo. So I think without him, you might become a little bit more solid defensively on that side, which I don't know how much I agree with. I think Amad's actually defended a lot better than I expected. You do obviously have those issues with obviously defending the back post and obviously 1v1 defending, but it's gonna put a lot of like pressure on Amorim in terms of what does he change in terms of like the zones and like the tactical nuances to kind of alleviate what we've lost. And sometimes even that can't account for personnel, because, as I've said, maybe if it was like a keeper and like up front, then like enough of a separation, like formationally, between the two players. But now you've literally got a tandem in Amad and Mbeumo. Your whole right side tandem is just gone. And there's also been a bit of an issue with the amount of left footers in the Manchester United team. Obviously, Luke Shaw, Martinez has come back. Luke Shaw's come back into the fold. But I think when you do have at least 3 or 4 left footers in a team, at least 2, I think it does help in terms of angles and build up. There's little things that it does actually end up helping you with. And that's going to be something of concern, because I don't think there's a player at Manchester United that can play the right 10 outside of maybe Bruno Fernandes, but just because he's good enough to basically play anywhere, where you can say, yeah, he's 100% comfortable playing there. Obviously, Amad being able to cut in, Amad can play a right 10, and Mbeumo can play a right 10. When you think about the other 10s in the team, Cunha and Mount, they much prefer on the left side, and it helps the way they play much more. I think the only way you can kind of play on your strong foot side as one of the 10s, or in this kind of, it's almost like an inside 10, sometimes inside forward, is if you're a runner and you can run in behind. Cunha doesn't run in behind, Mount doesn't run in behind. They like the ball to feet, they like operating inside the pitch. And when you're on your right side, if you're coming inside the pitch like that and you haven't really got the pace and the power and the 1v1 ability to go on the outside, Cunha does, but I think Cunha's way of dribbling, he definitely likes ball carrying on the other side, where he can go inside of on his right and shoot. We saw him take about 10 shots against Wolves. It's a little bit different. I still think he's good enough to play there, as you'll probably see when I do my predicted or my preferred 11. But it's still, I don't think it will be an angle and an area that's natural to him, like a zone that will be natural to him. But unfortunately, United are going to have the players to make almost, just going to have to compromise, really. I think Sesko coming back will be obviously a massive help in terms of the forward areas, because he can move things around a little bit better. I think his injury has hampered us a little bit, especially having to put an unfit kind of Xerxes up there, who I still think to this day isn't an out-and-out 9. And his link-up play can be really good. I think his link-up play was good when he came up against Wolves, but he just doesn't have that killer instinct that you need for a top-level striker. And that's something that we're trying to mould Sesko into being. But even Mazraoui, I thought Mazraoui has had a slow start since he's returned back from injury. You can tell sometimes he needs to get back up to speed. But even himself, I know you can't really put too much stock in a Wolves game, I'll be honest. That is one of the worst teams I've ever seen in the Premier League, and that is no exaggeration. So I'm not going to put too much stock into it, but I feel like it was an opportunity for players to build confidence and to kind of get their feet underneath them a little bit. Like Martinez, when he come on as a cameo, I thought Mazraoui was really good as well. And form is temporary, quality is permanent. We know the quality that Mazraoui has. He's great defensively, great in his duels, and on the ball, he's press resistant, good technically. And I think those line breakers and those passing, especially from the outside centre-back roles, can be so important in so many games. And losing Maz, obviously you lose a little bit of cover as well in the full-back areas. So we can't understate it, because if you just look at the 3 players missing individually, Amad and Mbeumo and Mazraoui, that's some serious quality that you're missing. Especially when the games that we are going to be playing without him, these are the possible matches that we can lose without him. Bournemouth, Villa, Newcastle, Wolves, Burnley away, I believe, Leeds, and then we probably won't be missing too many of them, because I think the back end of January will be, if their national stars obviously go to the final. They can't all make the final. They play for 3 different national teams, because they will probably be back for what will be a tough end to Jan, when you start off with Ellen Road away, which will be tough, and you've got Man City and Arsenal back-to-back, which, funny enough, you look at the big games, you usually saying that United usually fare a little bit better with the way we play, transitional against those, but they're still difficult games where if you don't have your best players, you're going to be up against it, especially when the final 20 minutes of Premier League matches have become so important, and we can see how the weaknesses in terms of game management from Amorim and the subpar bench depth has hurt us. So depth will become even more of an issue without these players. But you know what? I'm going to go into what I think my starting 11 would be for United's AFCON 11, I'm going to call it. So for me, I'm going to go for Lemens in goal, obviously. And then for the back three, I'm actually going to go for Martinez as the left centre-half, De Ligt as the central centre-half, and Lenny Yoro as the right centre-half. I don't think it's too early for Martinez. I think he's had a few weeks training, and I think he showed me, and I think we have missed it, how important the ball progression is from the centre-halves. And I think he offers us ball progression ability that none of the other centre-halves do. And with him, I think he's a character and he's got a presence, even though he's only 5'9". I think that we're going to massively need him. And I think putting him there will then allow me to then put what I'm going to put, which is Luke Shaw as a left wing back. Does he have the legs for it? Does he have any hamstrings left? Does he have the cardio for it? Will remain to be seen. But I do know the wing back areas for me are somewhere where when we are building up, they receive the ball in really uncompromising positions where they can be viewed as a press trigger. Any coach that you'll ever play for at a decent level identifies the fullbacks as a press trigger, and the reason for that is because when you receive as a fullback deep in the pitch on the touchline, the angles and the space kind of like open to you are narrowed because you're almost being pressed by the touchline as well. Because when you receive the ball on the touchline, you obviously the angles you're able to kind of work with is just inside the pitch. So when you receive the ball there, you can't turn out. You turn out of play. So you're almost pressed by the sideline and then pressed by the players in. So you can only go inside or backwards, which is why coaches always identify fullbacks as where you kind of jump and trigger on the press, because it's one of the more, and that's why you've seen Delo sometimes struggle there, even though he's got decent press resistance. You've seen Dorgu struggle there because technically he isn't always secure. Mazraoui can be good there as well, but he's better when he's got more space inside. And that's why I think we might be benefiting from Luke Shaw doing a left wing back job, because even if he might not be the marauding fullback he was when he was 17, breaking onto the scene for Southampton and getting his big move to Manchester United, he still has that ability to keep the ball. He's technically secure, and he might actually help us and aid us in that build-up down there. Especially if you've got Martinez and Shaw, I think that's a very good ball playing left side. And all Shaw needs to do is be able to get his arse up the pitch and support Mount. And his crossing and his delivery can be really good. And I'd like to see it. I know United have been managing him. He's almost changed into a bit of a centre-half because he's not so fit. He's put on a little bit of timber. You don't know if he can go up and down, but I believe that Shaw actually does have it in him. And I would like to at least see it tried. So I'm going to go for Luke Shaw left wing back. I'm going to go for the centre mid pairing of Bruno and Casemiro. I'm going to go for right wing back. I'm going to go for Delo. I think Delo's the best of what we've got there. I think he's had a really strong 3 games. And I think if he just switches on, concentrates better, he's got all the traits needed. It's just his lack of focus and his attention to detail sometimes in terms of his actions or what he's doing that lets him down. But we haven't got a better option than him for the right wing back role. So I'm going to put him there, and then I'm going to go for a front three of Sesko, who I believe is back in training and fit. Hopefully he'll be back for Bournemouth, and I'm going for Mount as a left 10, and for the right 10 I'm going for Cunha. So that will be my AFCON starting 11. I was tempted to put Cunha up front, Mount on the left and left 10, and Bruno as the right 10, and put Mainoo and Casemiro. Those are the two that those are the two variations of the starting 11s with AFCON that I'm going to think of. And I still think there's enough quality in that team to get the job done and get some results, and kind of almost like barricade that little period that we have without 3 of our better players, because it's definitely going to be a factor. And I'm not going to sit here and be disingenuous and say if we lose and drop points and be like, oh, it's just the manager and stuff. I'm not an idiot. I'm gonna obviously address the fact that having them 3 players out will massively affect us from a personal and quality perspective. So I've got my fingers crossed that United can almost weather the storm. But for my starting 11, that's what I'd go with. I want you to let me know what you think. Who would you prefer? Do you agree? Do you disagree? But I think there's enough in that. If we're losing for 3 or 4 games, how many points are you looking to collect in that? I'm going for at least between 8 and 10. And that's just being conservative. Because I think United just need to make sure that they're in and around it in terms of Europe places. Because I think with the league, a lot of these teams are playing each other. No one's extremely consistent apart from the big boys at the top. I think European football is there for the taking for Manchester United. It really is with the current league campaign. With no Europe, where the rest of our rivals have Europe to play as well, it's a massive advantage, and we need to make the most of it. And I think if we get Europe, next season would then be a massive litmus test, because we see whether United, whoever the manager is, whether it's Amorim or someone else, have what it takes to kind of manage a great league campaign, keep us competitive, but also make us competitive in Europe at the same time. But that's what I've gone for anyway. That's what I've gone for in the AFCON 11. It is definitely an area of concern. Will we see Shea Lacey? Will we see a few more academy products? I don't think Amorim's really shown us that he is willing to do that, but I'm hoping that he proves me wrong. I would like to see Lacey get a few more minutes into the fold, see if he's good enough. So if you're good enough, you're old enough. But for me, that will be AFCON 11. Let me know what you think. Remember to hype the video, like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you next time.